Hello, everyone. My name is Happy Sabbath. Can you hear me? My name is Zarrin. I'm going by Naz. I am Persian, Iranian. I've been born and raised in Iran. And as you most probably know, Iran is taken over by Islamic government since 1979. At the time that the revolution happened in Iran, I was 7 years old. And after the establishment of the Islamic Republic of Iran, the next year we went to the war with our next door neighbor, which was Iraq, and it lasts for 8 years. The reason I'm giving you this background is because I want you to get a glimpse of the unstable and chaotic environment that I've been raised. And as a result, there was always so much fear, anxiety, mistrust, uncertainty, and so on. Again, at the same time, I think I need to point that out. Despite the political domination of religion in Iran, there is so many evidence that shows most Iranian Muslims are not obedient of the law of Islam. Why is that? Because they are literally born in a Muslim family, so as their parents. They have no understanding of it, and they're not even interested to know anything about it. Why? Because from the beginning, from the very early age, they teach you that Prophet Muhammad is the last prophet of God, and meaning that God completed his message for the human race by Muhammad, and we need to accept Quran as a revelation. Conversion by Muslim is forbidden by most interpretation of Shariatullah. Converted Muslim consider apostate. And by most Muslim clergy, apostasy consider treason a crime punishable by death. So basically you think you don't have any way out. As soon as you get to school, at the age 6 or 7, you have to start memorizing Quran. Quran is in Arabic language. I'm Iranian, my language is Farsi. I don't understand any Arabic. Even though till now there is so many verses and books in Quran, I can read it for you by heart. But do I have any understanding of it? No, I don't. I was forced to memorize it. That was my assignment. When there is a call for prayer, again, you have to pray in Arabic. I don't understand Arabic. Why am I supposed to talk with my God, with my Creator, with the language that I do not have any understanding of it? And the answer is, because Quran came to Muhammad in Arabic, that's the way you're supposed to pray. The question might arise, okay, you can go and literally find a translation, make a sense of what you're reading or praying about. That is true. But I'm an ordinary person. I don't have any intention to become a Muslim clergy. Why I have to go and study Arabic language for my daily basis? It doesn't make sense. So at the very beginning, that was my first discomfort with the faith that I was supposed to follow. But you don't know any other way. You don't know any better, basically. So you continue on. And since I was growing up in a war, you can feel, because of the chaotic and unstable situation, there is so much need for prayer. You want to communicate with your God. That gives you peace, that gives you comfort. So I was constantly praying, trying to be hopeful, trying to be patient, but there was no answer. You try to be a good person, do a right thing, still you're getting nowhere. I think, again, I have to point it out that in Muslim culture, fear of God is very prominent. Don't get me wrong. Fear of God, there is nothing wrong with having fear of God. We all have to fear God. But the interpretation between the two different cultures is different. Sometimes you fear something because you want to avoid the punishment. So you're basically doing it for yourself. But in my understanding, in Christianity, fear of God does not want to shrink you away from Him based on the terror. But fearing Christianity means you have such a deep respect for Him when you're standing in front of Him, in front of His holiness and His power, you cannot do anything but praising Him, worshiping Him, serving Him, and being obedient. So that's totally two different intentions. Even though we both trying to do the right thing, but the intention behind it is totally different. So it makes a huge difference. Of course, at the time I didn't know any better. So I have to continue, go on. I was keep asking myself, what is it I'm doing wrong? Why I never get anywhere? Why my prayer never being answered? Eventually, about I guess this August is going to be 23 years since I moved to the United States. I moved here, and as you know or heard, immigration does have its own challenges. It literally breaks you down and builds you up again. In the very first year, something happened to me, which was very overwhelming, and I really didn't know how am I supposed to handle it. I mean, everything was out of my control. I was so devastated. I had no power over it. Still, till this now, I don't know how that's popped into my head, or what was it? Maybe because I was getting nowhere all these years with what I've been trained with. For the very first time, I prayed to Jesus all night. I prayed in Farsi. I prayed to Him. And believe it or not, within a few hours, the next day, very early in the morning, for the very first time, my prayer be answered. And as a matter of couple weeks, everything sorted out miraculously. It was unbelievable. Then I started looking back to it. What was it? What was the difference between this time and the rest of it? I'm still the same person. What makes that change? And I realized the difference between this prayer and the other one that I was doing it all these years was, first of all, I handed my request directly to Jesus. And second, I acknowledge that I do not have any power to it. And based on my devastation, the level of my devastation, I didn't know what to do. Literally, I didn't have any other choice but to put my whole trust and faith in His hand. So I was out of the picture. He was the only one could save me, nobody else. And that's why my prayer get answered. Of course, I'm not denying it. Your trouble pass, you forget. But life keeps throwing stuff into your face, and you need to go back. Once or twice, you might justify it as a coincidence. But even mathematically speaking, how many coincidences can happen to one person? So it has to be more than that. So that was how I started to do my research. do my reading, and I started my walk with him. And I realized, as I said it earlier, all these years, because of the environment and situation I was growing up, it was frustrating for me that my prayer not getting answered. But at the same time, I was feeling his presence in my life. I grew up in a war. I had a gun to my head. Time after time, I felt his protecting hand around me, but I wasn't able to communicate with him. So that was the frustration. Eventually, I learned, he was always beside me. I wasn't in my right path. I wasn't in the right state of mind. That's why my prayer wasn't being answered till that time. Now I know. We do have, I can't remember exactly. I think it is in a Revelation that it says, look, I stand by your door, I'm knocking. If you open the door and you invite me in, we can share a meal together. So as soon as I realized that, I recognized that, and invite him to my life, everything changed. That doesn't mean I don't have my challenges. Yes, I do. But I do have a confidence because now I know for a fact he's standing by my side. And as long as I trust him 100% and put my faith in him, every impossible is possible. It just depends on the amount of trust I'm putting in him. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Naz, for that personal sharing.
Thank you.
And I know I related to it, and I'm hoping that others did too. So we bow our heads for benediction.